Imagine this moment with me. The world outside your window grows quiet. The last sounds of the day fade, and your body begins to seek stillness. Tonight, I'd like to take you on a journey, a slow, soothing voyage into the heart of the oceans. We'll travel together across waters that have existed for billions of years, through currents that never rest, and into stories whispered by the waves. The ocean is not just water, it is memory, history, myth, and science, woven together in a tapestry so vast it defies measurement. Before we begin, let me invite you to do something very small, yet meaningful. Adjust your pillow. Let your body find the most comfortable position. And, if you don't mind, take a moment to support this channel. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Your presence here means more than you might know, and your voice matters too. Please, share with me in the comments where you are listening from and what time it is for you right now. In this way, we weave a global community, tiny points of light scattered across the earth, connected like stars in a constellation of shared silence. The oceans cover more than 70% of our planet's surface, and yet most of them remain unexplored. Even today, with satellites orbiting above and submarines diving below, the sea keeps its deepest secrets. In some ways, we know more about the surface of the moon than we do about the bottom of the ocean. That mystery, however, is not frightening tonight. Instead, it is comforting, because it reminds us that the world still holds wonders beyond our grasp, waiting patiently until we are ready to listen. As we drift through this documentary together, I'll share with you facts that science has uncovered, curiosities that history has recorded, and myths that cultures have cherished. But I will also invite your imagination to wander, because the ocean is not only a subject of study, it is a canvas for dreams. Think of each wave as a page, each tide as a chapter, and together we will turn them slowly, letting their rhythm guide us into calm. Picture yourself now, standing at the edge of a shoreline. The air smells faintly of salt, and the sand is cool beneath your feet. Ahead, the waves rise and fall in endless repetition. They do not hurry, they do not pause, they simply are. The ocean asks nothing of you, offers no judgment, no demand. It only offers its sound, a soft rush, a deep exhale, a return. With every breath you take, your body falls into sync with that eternal rhythm. In this space, time does not press upon you. It spreads out like the horizon, wide and open. The ocean has always been with us, long before humans learned to write or build or even speak. Our ancestors walked along its shores, gazed at its glimmering surface, and felt the same awe you and I feel tonight. To them, it was both a source of life and a mirror of the unknown. They prayed to it, sang to it, and feared it. And yet, they returned again and again, because the sea is like sleep itself, essential, renewing, mysterious, and irresistible. In the moments ahead, we will let the facts unfold, as gently as waves breaking on the shore. You will hear about the rhythm of waves, the origins of oceans, the glowing creatures of the deep, and the songs of whales that echo across thousands of miles. You will be guided not only by science, but also by imagination, through myths of sunken cities, pearls born of patience, and the quiet eye of a storm. My hope is that, somewhere between the truths and the dreams, you will find yourself growing heavy with rest, that your mind, so busy in the daylight, will soften, loosen, and drift, like a boat carried away from the harbor. So, close your eyes if you like. Feel the bed beneath you as the shoreline, your blanket as the tide, and your thoughts as the shells carried gently by the current. Together, we are setting sail. The ocean waits, endless and kind. Welcome to the most relaxing facts about the oceans. If you close your eyes for a moment and listen not to me, but to the quiet rhythm of your own breath, you may notice something remarkable. Each inhale rises, each exhale falls, just as waves do on the shore. The ocean and the human body are not strangers. They are companions, speaking in the same ancient language of rhythm. This is why so many people, across time and across cultures, have found peace simply by sitting near the sea. The sound of waves is not random noise. Scientists call it pink noise, a balance of low and high frequencies that mirrors the natural rhythms of the body. Unlike the harshness of sudden sounds or the artificial hum of machines, pink noise smooths the edges of our thoughts. It washes over the brain in pulses, slowing the racing current of the mind. Researchers have found that listening to these sounds can deepen sleep, help memory form, and even lower blood pressure. It is as if the ocean is a healer, offering its breath to calm our restless spirits. Imagine standing at dawn on a quiet beach. The horizon is painted in soft hues of blue and rose. The air is cool, tinged with salt. Then comes the sound, a long inhale as the wave gathers, a pause as it crests, and a sigh as it breaks and retreats. Again and again, without hurry, without end. If time itself could hum a lullaby, perhaps it would sound like this. There is something deeply human in our response to this rhythm. Mothers rock infants to sleep with gentle swaying. People tap their feet unconsciously to the beat of a drum. Our hearts beat steadily. Our lungs expand and contract. Our brains pulse with waves of electrical activity. The ocean, then, feels familiar not because it is outside of us, but because it reflects what is already within. Throughout history, people have turned to the sea not only for food or travel, but also for peace. Ancient poets compared the waves to the breath of gods. Buddhist monks listened to flowing water as a form of meditation, seeing in its unending flow a reminder of impermanence. In Japan, the concept of mono, no aware, the awareness of life's fleeting beauty, is often evoked by the image of waves rising and falling, never the same twice, yet always returning. Let us pause and wonder, how many countless people have fallen asleep to the sound of waves? Fishermen resting after a long day at sea, travelers curled up on ships, lovers on moonlit beaches, and children in coastal villages. The sound is both local and universal, a cradle song sung by the earth itself. Science tells us more. The specific frequency of ocean waves, often between 0.1 and 1 Hz, resonates with brain waves that occur during relaxation and sleep, the theta and delta rhythms. This is why, when we hear waves, our thoughts grow hazy, drifting between waking and dreaming. The ocean does not command us to sleep. It invites us gently until we forget the line between listening and resting. There is also an artistry in how waves move. Watch them long enough, and you will notice that no two are ever the same. Some rush quickly, others stretch lazily, some crash in foam, others simply fold back into the sea. It is like watching an infinite choreography, directed by wind and gravity, performed endlessly without rehearsal. Yet no matter how they change, the rhythm is always there, steady and patient. Poets have often seen waves as metaphors for life itself. Khalil Gibran once wrote that we are like waves of the same sea, rising, falling, and returning, yet always part of the greater whole. In the stillness of night, these words feel especially true. Our worries, like waves, come and go. Our joys crest and fall. But the ocean reminds us, beneath all these ripples, the deep remains unchanged, calm, eternal. Perhaps this is why so many meditation guides ask us to imagine the ocean, not as a stormy sea, but as a quiet one. Each breath we take mirrors the wave's arrival, each exhale its retreat. By aligning ourselves with this pattern, we rediscover a forgotten truth, that peace is not something to chase, it is something we already carry within us. Think now of yourself, lying here, listening. The faint hum of your room is far away. The story continues, but beneath it all, there is a rhythm. Your breath, steady and soft. Let it become the wave. Inhale, the tide rises. Exhale, the tide falls. Again and again, without force, without end. You are not fighting sleep, you are drifting with it, like a leaf carried by the sea. If the ocean has a secret, perhaps it is this. Rhythm is life's gentlest form of order. From the beating of our hearts to the orbits of planets, from the cycles of the moon to the tides on the shore, everything moves in waves. And when we listen closely, when we let ourselves be carried by that rhythm, we find a harmony that is older than words. Tonight, let that harmony be yours. When you look at the sea today, it feels eternal. The horizon stretches without end, and the waves seem as old as time itself. Yet the oceans we know, the vast blue that covers 70% of Earth, have their own story of birth. To understand their origin is to step back billions of years to an Earth that looked nothing like the gentle home we know tonight. In the beginning, our planet was not blue. It was a fiery, molten sphere, wrapped in clouds of gas and smoke. Volcanoes erupted endlessly, spilling fire instead of water. The surface was barren, a landscape of stone glowing with heat. But hidden within that chaos, the seeds of oceans were already waiting. One of the great mysteries of science is where Earth's water came from. Some of it, scientists believe, formed deep inside the planet. As molten rock cooled and hardened, gases trapped within, including water vapor, escaped through volcanic eruptions. Imagine those ancient volcanoes, not only spitting lava, but also breathing steam into the sky. Over countless millennia, this vapor rose, cooled, and fell back as rain. Drop by drop, storm by storm, the first oceans began to fill. But another theory carries us far beyond Earth. Some of the water may have traveled across the stars, carried within icy comets and asteroids. Picture a comet, its core frozen, its tail glittering, hurtling across the young solar system. When it struck Earth, it shattered into a storm of dust and ice. The fragments melted on contact, releasing water that mingled with the vapor already here. In this way, the oceans may be older than Earth itself, ancient visitors from distant corners of the galaxy. Think about that for a moment. The water in a cup of tea, the waves rolling onto a beach, the drops of rain on your window may once have drifted through interstellar space. Each molecule of H2O has a story that began long before humans, long before animals, long before even the Earth had cooled enough to hold them. To drink water is to taste the cosmos. In time, these rains and impacts filled the lowest basins of Earth's crust, creating the first seas. They were not yet calm. The skies were filled with lightning, the air thick with carbon dioxide, the oceans hot and acidic. Yet within these restless waters, something extraordinary was beginning. Life, in its earliest forms, stirred. Some scientists imagine deep-sea hydrothermal vents, great cracks in the ocean floor, spewing heat and minerals. Around these vents, chemicals reacted, combining in complex ways, eventually forming the first fragile molecules of life. In the cradle of a hostile ocean, life found a home. The sea, which had fallen from the sky and from the stars, became the womb of every creature that would ever exist. Even myths sensed this truth. Many creation stories speak of life emerging from water. The Babylonians told of Tiamat, the goddess of the primordial sea, from whom the world was formed. The ancient Egyptians believed that before the first sunrise, all was dark water, endless and formless until creation bloomed. In Hindu cosmology, the universe itself rests upon an infinite cosmic ocean, churning with possibility. Long before microscopes or satellites, humans understood instinctively. Life begins in the sea. There is something deeply comforting in this thought. Each of us, even today, carries a small ocean inside. Our blood, rich with salt, mirrors the chemistry of seawater. Our bodies, mostly water, echo the planet itself. When we float in the ocean, perhaps we are returning home not just to childhood memories of summer waves, but to something far older, a memory written into our very cells. Picture the ancient Earth now, storms raging, lightning flashing across black skies, meteors striking, volcanoes roaring, and beneath it all, oceans rising. The water spreads, cooling the planet, softening its violent heart. Slowly, the blue deepens. Slowly, continents take shape, and eventually, the Earth looks more like the world we recognize, a world not of fire, but of water and stone, sky and sea. Scientists still debate the exact origins. Was it mostly volcanic vapor? Was it mostly cosmic ice? Or was it a blend of both, Earth and sky, and stars combining their gifts? The answer may never be final. But perhaps it does not matter. Because either way, the ocean reminds us of our dual heritage. We are children of the Earth and of the cosmos. We are born of stone and of starlight, of rain and of fire. Tonight, as you listen, think of the glass of water by your bedside. In its quiet stillness rests a story 4 billion years long, a story of fire cooling, of comets falling, of storms raging, of oceans filling. And now, here it is, beside you, waiting to quench your thirst in the simplest gesture of life. That is the magic of the ocean's origin. Something so vast, so cosmic, distilled into something so ordinary, so intimate. As we drift further into this journey, remember that the sea has always been here, shaping us, cradling us, and reminding us of where we come from. The waves outside your window tonight are not only the voice of this planet, they are the whispers of the universe itself. If the deep ocean is a realm of mystery and shadow, then the shallow seas are its opposite, a world painted with light, where every color blooms beneath the waves. Here, sunlight filters through the surface, scattering into shimmering beams that dance on sand and coral. It is a place of abundance, where life bursts forth in dazzling variety. Some call coral reefs the rainforests of the sea, but to the sleepy mind, they are something gentler, floating gardens, alive with quiet movement. Imagine yourself drifting just below the surface. The water is warm, and each ripple carries a golden glow. Around you stretches a reef, an endless architecture of branching coral, delicate yet strong, each piece built slowly by tiny polyps over centuries. To the untrained eye, a coral reef looks like stone, but in truth, it is alive. Every ridge, every branch, is the result of patient growth, a colony of creatures working together, creating shelter for thousands of others. Within these reefs lives a carnival of colors. Fish painted in neon stripes dart between coral towers. Parrotfish nibble at rocks, their jaws grinding stone into soft sand. Angelfish and butterfly fish flash by, scales glinting like jewels in the shifting Sunday. Above, a sea turtle glides effortlessly, its slow, steady movements reminding you of a dreamer drifting through sleep. The shallow seas are alive with sound too, though softer than the crash of surface waves. Shrimp click, fish chatter, and sometimes dolphins pass by, whistling to one another. It is a symphony too delicate for most ears to hear, but if you could, it would feel like the ocean humming quietly to itself. Science tells us that these shallow seas are among the most productive ecosystems on Earth. Coral reefs, though covering less than 1% of the seafloor, host nearly a quarter of all marine species. They are nurseries for young fish, sanctuaries for crustaceans, and hunting grounds for predators. Life gathers here as if drawn by the promise of light and safety. And yet, the beauty of shallow seas is not just biological, it is artistic. Ancient cultures saw these waters as sacred. The Polynesians navigated vast distances, guided by the rhythm of reefs and stars. For them, the shallow lagoon was not only a home, but also a map, written in waves and coral. In Japanese tradition, the sea near Okinawa is called Umi no Niwa, the garden of the sea. Fishermen once whispered prayers before casting their nets, thanking the ocean's garden for its gifts. It is easy to see why myths grew here. To a mind unburdened by science, these reefs must have seemed enchanted. Fish too bright to be real, plants swaying like dancers, waters that glowed when the sun dipped low. Even today, divers often describe the experience as otherworldly, like stepping into a dream painted with living brushstrokes. Let us pause here in imagination. Picture yourself floating above a shallow reef. Sunbeams pierce the surface, shimmering in golden rays. A school of silver fish passes by, their bodies moving as one, like a single thought flickering through water. Beneath them, coral fans sway gently, each movement like the pages of a book turning slowly in the current. Time feels slower here, as though the ocean wants you to rest. But shallow seas also tell us stories of patience. Coral reefs grow at the pace of millimeters per year. Some of the great reefs we know today, like Australia's Great Barrier Reef, are thousands of years old. Imagine that. Generations of tiny creatures building, layer by layer, until their home became large enough to be seen from space. In this, there is a lesson for us, that even the smallest efforts, when carried through with persistence, can create something magnificent. Science also teaches us that shallow seas protect us. Coral reefs act like natural breakwaters, absorbing the energy of storms and waves, shielding coastlines from erosion. They are not only gardens of life, but also guardians of land. In their silence, they hold back the fury of storms, giving humans safe harbor. And still, they offer beauty beyond survival. When night falls, some creatures of the reef begin to glow, their bodies shining softly in shades of green and blue. Bioluminescent plankton drift with the current, tiny lanterns lighting up the darkness. Seen from above, the ocean seems sprinkled with stars, as if the sky had fallen into the sea. In many ways, the shallow seas are a mirror of the human soul, bright, fragile, full of hidden music, shaped by patience, and capable of creating beauty from the smallest acts. Perhaps this is why we find such comfort in imagining them as we fall asleep. They remind us of harmony, of light, of quiet persistence. Now, as you rest, think of yourself as part of that garden. Imagine lying among coral branches, the water warm and gentle, the fish passing without fear, the sun streaming down in golden patterns. Each breath you take is the ocean's breath, each heartbeat a pulse in the reef's eternal rhythm. And in that thought, perhaps, lies a deeper calm, that you are not separate from the sea, but one with it, carried gently in its embrace. The shallow seas will always exist as long as the sun touches the water. They are Earth's promise of beauty, a reminder that life can be colorful, peaceful, and endlessly renewing. Tonight, may they be a garden in your dreams, glowing softly, waiting patiently, and reminding you that light never truly leaves, even beneath the waves. Close your eyes for a moment and imagine standing at the edge of a darkened beach. The night is still. The stars shimmer faintly above, scattered across the sky like distant lanterns. Then, as the waves roll in, something unexpected happens. The water itself begins to glow. Each movement of the tide ignites a soft blue-green light, as though the sea has become a living mirror of the heavens. This is the magic of bioluminescence. Life, creating its own light. It is not fire, not flame, but a chemical symphony written in the cells of certain creatures. On land, we see it in fireflies blinking in summer fields. But in the ocean, it is everywhere, more common than the stars in the sky. Nearly 90% of creatures in the deep sea are capable of glowing, from tiny plankton to fish and jellies that float like drifting lamps. The science is elegant. Within these creatures, special molecules combine with oxygen in a reaction that releases light. It is an ancient ability, evolving again and again in different species. To us, it feels like magic. To them, it is survival. Light to lure prey, light to confuse predators, light to call to a mate in the darkness. Picture a jellyfish pulsing in the black water. With each contraction of its body, rings of blue radiance ripple outward, fading as they drift away. Or an anglerfish, lurking in the depths, dangling a glowing lure like a lantern in a cave. Small fish, hypnotized by the light, drift too close, unaware of the danger hidden in the shadows. Light here is both beauty and trap, gift and deception. But the most enchanting of all may be the glowing plankton that gather near shores. When waves break, or when a swimmer's hand brushes the surface, these microscopic organisms release bursts of light. The result is a shoreline that shimmers with every motion, as though stars have fallen into the water. Sailors once wrote of seas so bright they could read by them, entire stretches of ocean glowing like spilled milk. Scientists call these events milky seas, vast blankets of bioluminescence stretching for miles, visible even from space. There is poetry in this glow. Ancient myths imagined the ocean as a place where spirits lingered, and these glowing waters were seen as the footsteps of gods. In some cultures, the lights were thought to be souls of ancestors, guiding fishermen home. Even today, standing in such water feels dreamlike, as if you are walking through the edge of another world, where the ordinary rules of night no longer apply. The effect on the human spirit is undeniable. To witness the sea glowing is to feel both small and blessed. It is as if the ocean has chosen to reveal its secret just for you. There is no need for words in such moments. Silence becomes the only fitting response. Science, too, finds wonder here. The proteins that allow jellyfish to glow, known as green fluorescent proteins, have become tools in medical research, helping scientists map the inner workings of cells. The lights of the sea have traveled into laboratories, shaping discoveries in genetics and medicine. What begins as beauty ends as knowledge. But let us return to the dream. Imagine yourself floating in warm, dark water, your body moving gently with the tide. Each motion releases a glow, trailing sparkles from your hands, your feet, your breath. It is as though you are writing in the water with light, tracing letters that vanish as quickly as they appear. You are no longer just observing the ocean's glow. You are part of it, dissolving into its radiance. There is a lesson in this. Bioluminescence thrives in darkness. Without the absence of light, it would never be seen. Perhaps our own lives hold a parallel truth that sometimes it is only in our darkest moments that our own inner light has a chance to shine. The sea reminds us gently that shadow and glow exist together, each giving meaning to the other. So tonight, as you sink deeper into rest, imagine the world's waters alive with hidden lights. Far below the waves, lanternfish sparkle as they rise and fall with the currents. Jellies drift like glass orbs, shimmering softly. Whole patches of plankton bloom and fade, like fields of stars that move with the tide. The ocean is not dark, not truly. It carries its own constellation, a galaxy beneath the surface. And as your eyes grow heavy, let this vision become your lullaby, the soft shimmer of waves, the hidden glow of creatures unseen, the reassurance that even in darkness, beauty waits quietly to be found. If the ocean could be compared to a living body, then its currents would be its breath. With each slow inhale and exhale, water moves across the face of the planet, carrying warmth, nutrients, and life. This endless circulation, invisible from the shore, quietly shapes the world we know. Without it, climates would collapse into extremes, coastlines would wither, and life would lose its balance. Stand for a moment in your imagination at the edge of a pier. Beneath the surface, the water may look still, but it is always moving. Sometimes the motion is gentle, like the sway of a sleeper's chest. At other times, it surges like a deep sigh, sweeping across oceans and carrying with it the seeds of weather and change. This is the ocean's breath, the steady rhythm that connects all corners of Earth. Scientists call the great global circulation the thermohaline conveyor belt. Warm waters near the equator flow toward the poles, while cold waters sink and return along the ocean floor. This exchange, driven by differences in temperature and saltiness, is like the tide of a planet-sized lung. It takes centuries for one full cycle to complete, yet its effect is constant. Europe's mild winters, for example, are a gift of the Gulf Stream, a ribbon of warmth carried from the Caribbean. Without it, London might feel more like Siberia. The thought is humbling. Entire civilizations, entire histories, may have been shaped by the slow breath of the sea. Farmers planting wheat in temperate valleys, kings planning wars in mild climates, artists painting under soft skies, all of them unknowingly indebted to the currents rolling far beneath. But the ocean's breath is not only global. Even on a smaller scale, it nourishes life. Currents bring nutrients from the depths to the surface, feeding plankton, which in turn feed fish, which in turn feed us. In this way, every meal of seafood, every drop of fish oil, every grain of salt on your tongue carries the invisible imprint of ocean circulation. The sea exhales, and life continues. For centuries, sailors learned to read these patterns. Polynesian navigators crossed vast stretches of Pacific Ocean by watching swells and feeling the rhythm of waves against their canoes. They knew, instinctively, what science later confirmed. The ocean has its own pulse, its own direction, its own steady whisper that guides those who learn to listen. In myth, too, currents became symbols. The Greeks imagined Oceanus, a great river encircling the world, its waters flowing endlessly. In Hindu stories, the cosmic ocean is churned to release treasures, its movement creating both destruction and abundance. These tales, woven long before satellites or weather maps, remind us of something profound. Humanity has always sensed that water is alive, breathing, dreaming, moving beyond our sight. Now, let us bring this into the quiet of tonight. Imagine lying still, your body heavy, your breath soft. With each inhale, picture the warmth of tropical waters rising. With each exhale, imagine the cool depths returning. You are not separate from the ocean, you are part of its great circulation. Your breathing mirrors its flow. Your stillness reflects its calm. Science warns us that these currents are fragile. As ice melts and climates warm, the rhythm may falter. The conveyor belt could slow, even stop. Yet even in this warning lies a reminder of connection. What we do on land echoes in the sea, and what the sea does echoes back to us. The ocean's breath is also our own. But tonight is not for worry. Tonight is for peace. And so we return to the rhythm itself, water rising, water falling, warmth flowing, coolness returning. Think of yourself as a leaf on this endless current, carried gently across the globe. You are drifting, not lost but guided, not hurried but supported. The ocean knows no haste. It moves at the pace of centuries, yet always arrives where it is meant to. Perhaps that is a lesson for us as well. Life's breath is long, and though we often hurry, we too are carried. The ocean's breath reminds us that stillness is not stagnation, and movement need not be violent. It can be soft, patient, and eternal. So tonight, as your eyelids grow heavy, let the ocean breathe for you. Inhale with the rising tide. Exhale with the retreating current. Allow yourself to be part of the great circulation, a note in the symphony of Earth's endless breath, and in that surrender, may you find the peace you seek. Long before maps, long before science traced the paths of currents and winds, humanity explained the sea with stories. To ancient eyes, the ocean was not just water. It was alive, filled with gods, monsters, and spirits that embodied its moods. Mythology became the language through which people tried to understand the vast, unpredictable expanse before them. Imagine a Greek sailor thousands of years ago, his wooden ship creaking under a restless sky. He looks at the dark waves around him and feels the presence of Poseidon, the god of the sea. In Greek mythology, Poseidon was not a gentle deity. His moods were as changeable as the ocean itself. When calm, he could guide ships safely across the Aegean. When angered, he struck the waters with his trident, raising storms that could scatter entire fleets. To the Greeks, every wave carried his breath, every storm echoed his temper. But not all sea deities were wrathful. The Greeks also spoke of Nereus, the old man of the sea, wise and gentle, who knew the secrets of the deep. His daughters, the Nereids, were sea nymphs who danced among the waves, often portrayed as protectors of sailors. In these myths, the ocean was not only danger, it was also sanctuary, a place where kindness and wisdom hid beneath the surface. Travel east, and Chinese legends speak of the Dragon King's rulers of the four seas, each with their own palace beneath the water. These dragons were not just guardians of treasure, they controlled rain, storms, and floods. To farmers, they were bringers of life, for rain meant crops and survival. To fishermen, they were forces to be respected, honored with offerings before setting sail. In Norse mythology, the sea was Jörmungandr, the world's serpent, so vast it encircled the earth and bit its own tail. When it stirred, waves rose. When it thrashed, storms raged. For the Vikings, who braved the North Atlantic's cold and brutal waters, this image felt all too real. The sea was a serpent, mysterious, endless, and coiled around the edges of the known world. Polynesian voyagers, who sailed canoes across immense distances, guided only by stars and swells, wove stories of Tangaroa, the great god of the ocean. For them, the sea was not an enemy, but a pathway, a vast living space connecting islands and people. They sang chants to Tangaroa before voyages, not to conquer the sea, but to move in harmony with it. Their myths taught respect, for they knew that the ocean could be generous or unforgiving, depending on how it was approached. Even in cultures far from the shore, the ocean found its place in imagination. The ancient Mesopotamians told of Tiamat, the primordial sea goddess, whose chaotic waters existed before the world was born. From her, creation itself emerged. The Egyptians, too, believed that before the first sunrise, all was water dark, endless, formless. From this ocean, life and light rose, just as dawn rises from night. There is a common thread in these stories, the ocean as both beginning and end, destruction and renewal. To myth, the sea was not simply a setting, but a character, capable of shaping destiny. And in this, perhaps, we find a reflection of truth. Even today, storms remind us of its power, while calm horizons soothe us with its gentleness. Think of these myths now as bedtime tales, whispered across centuries. Picture the Greek sailor calling to Poseidon for mercy, the Polynesian voyager chanting to Tangaroa, the Norse storyteller warning of Jörmungandr's stirring, the Chinese farmer offering incense to the Dragon King. All of them, in their own ways, were listening to the same voice, the sea's eternal song. As you lie here tonight, let these myths be more than stories. Let them remind you that humans have always sought meaning in the rhythm of waves. The gods and spirits were ways of saying, the sea matters, the sea lives, the sea carries us. And perhaps, as you drift closer to sleep, you may feel the same truth. The sea is not outside of us, but within us. Its myths live in our imagination, its rhythm in our breath, its mystery in our dreams. So let the gods rest now, their storms quieted, their chants fading into silence. The ocean is calm, its mythic guardians standing watch, and you, like the sailors and dreamers of old, are safe beneath their gaze. If the ocean had a language of patience, it would speak in pearls. No thunder, no spectacle, just time layering itself in quiet circles, one luminous coat over another, until a secret becomes a jewel. A pearl begins not as perfection, but as an irritation. A grain of sand, a fragment of shell, a tiny intruder inside the tender body of an oyster or a mussel. In response, the animal does something quietly miraculous. It wraps the intruder in nacre mother of pearl over and over, smoothing what is sharp, softening what is stubborn, transforming a small discomfort into a sphere of light. The ocean, it seems, has its own way of teaching forgiveness. There are natural pearls, rare and unpredictable, born entirely of chance, and there are cultured pearls, guided by human hands, where a tiny bead is placed within the mollusk to invite the same gentle alchemy. Either way, the principle is unchanged. Light is layered on trouble until the trouble becomes beautiful. It is hard not to see the lesson. Perhaps we too are capable of this, of turning the small abrasions of life into something rounded and calm, something we can carry with quiet pride. Hold a pearl in your palm. Notice how it glows without shining, as if its light comes from memory rather than reflection. That soft luster is the signature of nacre's delicate layers, thin beyond imagining, stacked like whisper upon whisper. Turn the pearl, and you'll see the color shift. Cream into pink, silver into a faint sea, green. It's the ocean's voice, condensed into a bead small enough to thread on a string. Pearls have been treasured for as long as people have told stories. In ancient Rome, they were symbols of status. In India and Persia, they were woven into myths of moonlight solidified. In Japan, legends spoke of mermaids weeping pearls into the sea. Divers once risked their lives to search for them, descending on single breaths into wild water, feeling along the seabed for shells by touch alone. Imagine that descent. The pressure against the chest, the widening darkness, the muffled world of your own heartbeat. Somewhere below, an oyster rests, heavy with time. Somewhere above, sunlight waits to turn its secret into radiance. But pearls are not the only treasures the ocean keeps. The seabed is a library, a vault, an archive of human journeys and human errors. Ships have crossed these waters for millennia, some returning, some never seen again. In the quiet of the deep, their hulls have grown into reefs, their cargoes have scattered like seeds, and their stories have slowed to the pace of sediment falling through water. Consider the Spanish galleons of the 16th and 17th centuries, heavy with silver and gold from the New World, crossing the Atlantic under canvas skies. Storms rose without warning. Reefs waited without pity. Many ships reached their harbors, some did not. The ones that slipped beneath the waves now rest among coral and sand. Their treasures turned from currency into relic. Coins lie stacked like fallen moons. Ceramics nestle beside corals. A ring, slipped from a finger at the last, sleeps in a cradle of silt. What was once wealth is now quiet history. Not all treasures are glittering. Some are ideas preserved in salt. Off the Greek island of Antikythera, a shipwreck, revealed the fragments of a device gears within gears, now known as the Antikythera mechanism. It was an ancient computer of the stars, a clockwork map of the sky. Think of it resting there for 2,000 years, while fish drifted past, while storms came and went above, while generations lived and died without knowing that, below, the mind of another age lay dreaming in bronze. The sea had kept it safe, as if to return it when the world was ready to listen again. There are modern treasures too, the kind that tell stories of courage and loss. The SS Central America, sunk in 1857, carried not only gold, but the weight of human hope. Its recovery returned coins and bars to the light. But what mattered most were the letters, the personal objects, the traces of ordinary lives interrupted by the sea's impartial hand. Even the most dazzling trove becomes humble when touched by the quiet of the deep. Down there, everything is equalized. Gold and clay, silk and rope, dream and duty, each stilled by water into a single hush. Archaeologists speak of context, of leaving treasures in place so the seafloor can keep telling the story intact. The ocean is a careful storyteller. It drifts sand over what is precious, folds the past in layers, and asks us to approach gently. For every gleam of coin, there is a bowl with a thumbprint, a compass that once pointed home, a child's toy locked in a chest. Treasure is not always wealth. Sometimes it is the sudden closeness we feel to someone we'll never meet, a small echo of their life, kept and returned by the sea. And yet, the ocean also hoards treasures of its own making. Think of ambergris, the rare, waxy substance formed in the bellies of great whales, washed ashore like a secret the sea has decided to share. For centuries, it perfumed the courts of kings and queens. Its scent, a soft persistence that outlasted seasons. Or think of black coral, polished to a mirror glow, carved into jewelry that holds the night within it. These are not human artifacts, but offerings from the ocean's own long patience. If you listen closely, you may sense why these stories feel soothing at day's end. Pearls, shipwrecks, forgotten letters, each speaks in the same calm voice. Time will carry what is sharp into softness. What is lost will settle into meaning. What is hurried will come to rest. The sea does not rescue everything. It does not return every ring, every coin, every life. But it holds what it must, as long as it must, and gives back when it can. There is a mercy in that. Imagine now a diver descending with a small lamp. Dust rises like snow from the seafloor as she passes. The beam moves across a hull and finds a pattern of barnacles, a curve of wood softened by centuries. There, among the shadows, a chest lies open, not the clumsy fantasy of overflowing gold, but something quieter, a locket with a faded portrait, a bottle sealed with wax, a journal whose ink has bled into the page like rain. She does not take them. She notes them, photographs them, and lets them be. Up above, the research vessel rocks gently, and the ocean keeps its counsel. Return now to the pearl, small, perfect, and patient. Roll it between your fingers. Feel how smooth it is, how gentle on the skin. Remember how it began, as an interruption, a grain of grit that cut and irritated. The mollusk did not reject it. It embraced it, surrounded it with tenderness, until it was transformed. There is a bedtime lesson there, simple and soft. You do not have to be untroubled to become luminous. You can be exactly as you are, and still, with time, turn difficulty into grace. Let this be your image as sleep approaches. A tide moving slowly through a field of seagrass, a chest of letters resting in a quiet hold, an oyster closing gently around a small, stubborn grain, nacre forming in the dark, layer by patient layer. Somewhere, far below, a diver's lamp fades. Somewhere near your window, the night deepens. And in your own chest, a small calm gathers, the sense that what is unfinished can still become beautiful, and that the ocean, keeper of pearls and forgotten treasures, is watching over your dreams. If the ocean had a choir, its deepest, most resonant voices would belong to the whales. Their calls travel across unimaginable distances, sometimes hundreds, even thousands of miles. These songs are not just sounds, they are living vibrations, woven into the very fabric of the sea. To listen to them is to feel the ocean breathe, to sense its vastness in a way that no map could ever describe. Imagine it. You are drifting on the deck of a small vessel at night. The water is dark and still, the stars sharp and infinite above you. Suddenly, from somewhere deep below, a sound rises, not sharp, not hurried, but long and low, like a note drawn from an ancient cello. It fills the water, passes through the hull, and reaches your chest. For a moment, you cannot tell whether the sound is outside of you or within you. That is the power of whale song. It moves not only through the sea, but through the listener. Among whales, the humpbacks are perhaps the most famous singers. Their songs are complex, with repeating patterns, verses, and refrains. They can last for hours, evolving slowly over months, almost like the symphonies of an unseen composer. What astonishes scientists is that entire populations of humpback whales often sing the same song at the same time. Then, as the years pass, the songs shift, new phrases added, old ones dropped, until a whole community has rewritten its melody. It is as if the whales are not only singing, but composing, their music alive with change. Blue whales, the largest creatures ever to live on Earth, also sing, but their voices are deeper, lower than human ears can easily perceive. Some of their calls vibrate at frequencies below the range of our hearing. To instruments, they appear as slow pulses, like the steady beat of a drum echoing through the abyss. A single blue whale's call can travel across an ocean basin, from one continent to another. Imagine that one voice, large enough to embrace the world. For centuries, humans had no idea these songs existed. Sailors heard strange sounds through their wooden hulls, but had no way to understand them. It wasn't until the mid-20th century, when scientists lowered hydrophones underwater microphones into the deep, that the ocean revealed its secret symphony. Those first recordings startled the world. People described the songs as haunting, otherworldly, yet deeply moving, as if the ocean itself had decided to speak. The discovery changed more than science. It stirred hearts. In the 1,970 seconds, recordings of whale songs were released to the public. People listened in their homes, on radios, in headphones. The songs became part of the environmental movement, sparking a wave of compassion and protection. Save the whales, people said, because to lose them would be to silence an ancient music, a lullaby of the sea. And there is poetry here too. Cultures long before science sensed that whales had voices worth hearing. In some Inuit traditions, whales were thought to carry songs between the living and the spirit world. In Maori stories, whales guided voyagers across oceans, their calls keeping canoes safe from storms. Even without recordings, humans imagined what they now know is true, that whales sing and their songs matter. Close your eyes and picture yourself beneath the waves. The light above fades into twilight, then into shadow. Around you, the sea is vast and still. Then a sound rises, a moan that deepens into a pulse that shifts into a pattern that spirals into song. You feel it in your bones, in your chest, in the quiet rhythm of your heart. This is the music of a whale, shared across miles of open water. It does not demand your attention. It invites you to drift with it. There is mystery still. Why do whales sing? Is it for courtship? To attract mates? Is it communication? Long-distance messages sent through liquid corridors? Or is it something more, a cultural inheritance, a form of art, passed from one generation to the next? Science does not yet know. But perhaps, as with much of the sea, the not knowing is part of the wonder. To dream about whales is to accept that some questions can rest unanswered, like lullabies that soothe without needing explanation. In recent years, researchers have noticed something beautiful. When the oceans grow quieter, as during rare pauses in human activity, whale songs change. They grow softer, gentler, as though the singers no longer have to compete with engines or machinery. In the hush of a quieter sea, their voices bloom. This teaches us something profound, that even giants of the deep crave silence, that music flourishes when the world listens. Let this thought carry you into stillness tonight. Imagine drifting through dark water, cradled by sound. Somewhere far off, a humpback weaves a pattern of notes, echoing like bells underwater. Somewhere deeper, a blue whale beats the ocean's drum, so low it shakes the bones of the earth. Together, they form a chorus you cannot see, but can feel, a choir of ancient beings, singing to each other, and, somehow, to you. And perhaps there is a reflection here, that we too have songs, not always melodies, not always words, but rhythms of love, kindness, memory, and hope. Like whales, we carry these songs within us, and we share them in ways we do not always understand. So tonight, let yourself be part of that choir, your breath the verse, your heartbeat the drum, your dreams the rising melody. The whales are singing, the ocean is listening, and you are drifting, slowly, into their song. Every night, the moon rises quietly above the horizon, casting its pale light over the ocean's surface. To the eye, it seems gentle, distant, a lantern hung in the sky. But beneath that soft glow lies a force powerful enough to pull entire seas. The moon, small as it looks compared to the earth, moves the oceans themselves, lifting, lowering, guiding them in a rhythm that has lasted since the beginning of time. The tides are the ocean's heartbeat, and the moon is its metronome. Twice each day, the sea retreats, revealing sand and stone. Twice each day, it returns, covering the shore in foamy waves. This rhythm is so steady that for millennia, people set their lives by it. Fishermen knew when to cast their nets by the rising tide. Travelers knew when sandbars would emerge to guide their crossings. Even the phases of the moon became calendars, marking the passage of months in silver crescents. Scientifically, tides happen because of gravity. The moon pulls on the earth, and water, being fluid, responds. On the side closest to the moon, the ocean bulges outward. On the far side, the ocean also bulges, pulled by the inertia of Earth's spin. The result is 2 high tides and 2 low tides each day. But to ancient eyes, it was not mathematics. It was magic. They saw in the rising water the hand of the gods, the moon's light tugging the sea like a silver thread. Imagine standing at the shore on a full moon night. The sand beneath you is damp from the tide that just retreated. Ahead, the ocean gleams in moonlight, restless but not wild. As you watch, the water slowly creeps higher, inch by inch, as though it is following the moon's ascent into the sky. You do not hear it move, but you see its progress. Seashells buried, rocks disappearing, foam reaching farther with each sigh of the waves. You realize you are watching a dialogue between heaven and earth, the moon calling, the sea answering. In mythology, this connection was sacred. The Greeks believed the moon goddess Selene rode her chariot across the night, pulling the tides with her luminous presence. In India, the god Chandra was said to govern both time and tides, his waxing and waning guiding the waters. Among coastal tribes in North America, stories spoke of the moon as a watchful guardian who whispered instructions to the sea to protect those living on its edge. To all these peoples, The ocean's rise and fall was a form of speech, a cosmic lullaby. The moon's influence extends beyond tides. Many creatures live their lives by lunar rhythms. Sea turtles, for instance, time their nesting with the phases of the moon. Under full moonlight, females climb sandy beaches to bury their eggs, guided by ancient instinct. Months later, the hatchlings emerge, scrambling toward the brightest horizon, the moonlit sea. In their tiny, fragile steps lies a ritual older than civilization. Even corals, the architects of reefs, spawn in sync with the moon. Once a year, under specific lunar phases, entire colonies release eggs and sperm into the water at once, creating a snowstorm of life beneath the surface. The timing is so precise, so universal, that it seems the moon itself whispers the signal, now. There is a human echo in all of this. Just as tides rise and fall, our moods too shift with cycles we cannot always explain. Ancient physicians once believed the moon affected the mind, coining the word lunatic from lunar. While science is cautious about such claims, many still feel that sleepless nights are more common under a full moon, as if the body remembers its kinship with the tides. Perhaps we too are water enough to be moved by lunar gravity. Let us pause here and imagine the world without tides. The ocean would be still, lifeless in its monotony. Shorelines would stagnate, estuaries would collapse, and many creatures would lose their way. The tides oxygenate the waters, bring nutrients, cleanse shores, and create the fertile zones where life flourishes. In a sense, the moon is not just a companion in the sky, it is a partner in Earth's ecology. Together, the Earth and moon compose a duet, one of mass and motion, silence and song. Now, think of your own breath again. Inhale, the tide rises. Exhale, the tide falls. You are a tide in miniature, your lungs echoing the same rhythm that sweeps across oceans. The moon above you pulls not only seas, but something within you, a subtle awareness of cycles, of return, of rest. Perhaps that is why moonlit nights at the shore feel so magical. We are not only seeing beauty, we are sensing alignment, our bodies unconsciously resonating with the pull of the heavens. The ocean listens. We listen. And for a moment, the world feels in balance. Picture yourself now, lying on soft sand. The tide creeps near, cool against your toes. The moon hangs above, watching, patient. You feel its gravity not as a tug, but as a presence, quiet and constant. The water comes and goes, until the rhythm becomes your own. Sleep, too, works like this. It ebbs and flows. Wakefulness recedes, dreams rise, then retreat, then return. Like the tide, rest is never lost. It is always coming back to you. And so, as you drift into the quiet of night, let the moon be your guardian, the sea your companion, and the tides your lullaby. Together they remind you that movement does not mean chaos, that cycles are not endless repetition, but harmony. The ocean rises, the ocean falls, and through it all, the moon keeps watch. Scattered across the vast blue of the oceans are small islands, dots of land, rising like pauses in the endless sentence of waves. Some are lush with palms, others are volcanic peaks rising from the sea floor, and still others are no more than stretches of sand where seabirds gather. Yet despite their differences, all islands share something profound, a sense of solitude. They are places where the noise of the world falls away, where silence seems to bloom like a rare flower. Imagine approaching such an island after days at sea. The horizon is nothing but water, and then, slowly, a line of green appears, shimmering in the sunday. As you draw closer, details emerge. A curve of white beach, a crown of trees swaying in the breeze, perhaps the sound of waves breaking gently on coral. To a sailor, this sight has always carried the promise of rest. To a dreamer, it carries the promise of peace. Small islands remind us of what it means to be apart from the rush of the world. Their scale is human-sized. You can walk from one end to another in a single day, trace their beaches, and circle back to where you began. There are no towering continents, no endless highways, no crowds, only the sea in every direction, and the quiet knowledge that here the horizon belongs to you alone. In history, islands have often been sanctuaries. Hermits sought them to escape noise and seek clarity. Monks built monasteries on rocky outcrops surrounded by water, their chants rising with the cries of seabirds. Writers, too, have been drawn to islands, places where time seems to slow and thoughts can settle like sand at the bottom of a tide pool. Robinson Crusoe, though fictional, is perhaps the most famous island dweller in literature, embodying both the loneliness and the freedom such places inspire. But solitude does not always mean loneliness. On some islands, solitude feels like a gift. The Polynesians who first settled the Pacific's scattered atolls did not see isolation but connection. The sea itself was the highway, and each island a resting place along the way. Their canoes traced paths across thousands of miles, guided by stars and waves, binding distant lands into a single vast community. What seemed like solitude to outsiders was, to them, part of a living network. Still, there is a kind of dreamlike quality to islands that makes them special. Myths often placed paradise on islands, the Greek Isles of the Blessed, where heroes rested after death. Avalon, in Celtic legend, where King Arthur was said to sleep until his return. The Japanese island of Hawaii, home to immortals. Even in the modern imagination, islands remain symbols of escape. Advertisements promise tropical getaways, where one can leave it all behind, as though the sea itself could wash worries away. Science tells us that islands are also laboratories of life. Isolated from continents, they evolve unique species, birds that cannot fly, reptiles that grow enormous, insects that shrink to tiny sizes. Charles Darwin's visit to the Galapagos Islands revealed finches with different beaks, adapted to different foods, shaping his theory of evolution. In this way, solitude fosters creativity, not only in humans, but in nature itself. Picture, now, a small island at dusk. The sun sinks low, painting the horizon with gold and violet. Waves lap softly against the shore. A few crabs scuttle across the sand, vanishing into their burrows. A seabird cries overhead, then falls silent. Soon the stars will appear, brighter than anywhere on the mainland, because here there are no lights to dim them. You lie back on the sand, and the entire universe stretches above you, mirrored in the dark sea around. You are alone, yet not lonely, because the sea and the stars keep you company. There is comfort in this solitude. Life on land can be crowded with noise, responsibilities, and endless demands. But on an island, real or imagined, the world simplifies. There is water, there is land, there is sky. The essentials of existence feel close, tangible. You can hear the tide, feel the breeze, watch the shadows of clouds drift across the sand. Such simplicity is a form of healing, a way of remembering what truly matters. Islands, too, remind us of cycles. Some are born violently, when volcanoes erupt beneath the sea, forcing stone upward. At first, they are barren, black rock, surrounded by foaming waves. But over centuries, seeds arrive carried by birds, winds, and waves. Plants take root, animals follow, and eventually, the once empty rock becomes a living paradise. Other islands fade slowly, worn down by erosion, swallowed again by the sea. They remind us that nothing is permanent, and yet in their impermanence lies beauty. In dreams, islands often symbolize the self, a small, distinct being, surrounded by the vastness of the unconscious. To lie on an island, even in imagination, is to come face to face with your own solitude and to discover that it is not frightening, it is peaceful, it is restorative. The ocean does not isolate you, it embraces you, protecting your little patch of land with its endless arms. So tonight, let yourself drift to such a place. Imagine an island just for you, a stretch of sand curved like a crescent moon, palm trees rustling softly, waves whispering at the edge. There are no clocks here, no voices demanding attention, no noise but the lull of the sea. You walk the beach, leaving footprints that the tide will soon erase. You sit beneath a tree and feel the salt wind on your skin. The sky darkens, the stars appear, and the world feels vast yet safe. Perhaps, in this imagined solitude, you will find the peace you seek, not the loneliness of separation, but the stillness of simplicity. Like the pearl born of patience, like the whale's song carried across oceans, the island offers a truth that sometimes to be alone is to be whole. As sleep gathers around you, let the image of your island remain a quiet refuge, a place untouched by noise, a dream waiting at the edge of the sea. And know that, like all islands, it is both part of the ocean and apart from it, connected, yet unique, embraced, yet free. When the sun sinks below the horizon, the ocean changes its face. By day, it sparkles with light, playful and bright. By night, it becomes something else, entirely, a mirror of the cosmos, vast and mysterious, stretching beyond sight. The ocean at night is not empty. It is alive with shadows and whispers, a place where stars above meet the black water below, creating the illusion of infinity. Imagine yourself standing on a beach beneath a clear night sky. The sand is cool, the air tinged with salt, and all around you the world has quieted. Before you, the ocean lies dark, its waves rolling softly like breaths in sleep. Each crest catches the faint glow of the moon, silver lines on black silk. The horizon dissolves. You cannot tell where the sea ends and the sky begins. It is as though you are standing at the edge of the universe, gazing into eternity. To the human heart, there is both awe and comfort here. Awe, because the scale of it is incomprehensible. Comfort, because its rhythm continues regardless of our smallness. The ocean at night is a reminder. You are not the center of the world, and that is a relief. Your burdens feel lighter when set against such immensity. Fishermen have long known the quiet mystery of the nocturnal sea. In ancient times, they navigated by the stars, watching constellations rise and fall like celestial lighthouses. The North Star, fixed in the sky, guided sailors home. In Polynesian tradition, navigators read not only the stars, but also the faint patterns of swells, using them like invisible roads. At night, the sea revealed pathways that daylight could not. Darkness, paradoxically, became guidance. And then there is the moon. On nights of full moon, the ocean seems enchanted. Waves shimmer, the shore glows faintly, and every ripple looks like liquid silver. On moonless nights, by contrast, the sea turns into ink so dark that even the horizon vanishes. Sailors once described these nights as if they were floating through nothingness, suspended between black sky and black water. Yet even in that darkness, bioluminescent plankton sometimes bloom, bursting into light with every wave, as though the stars have slipped from the heavens to swim at your feet. The ocean at night also holds voices. Listen closely, and you may hear the distant cry of a gull, the splash of a fish breaking the surface, the hush of water folding into sand. If you are at sea, perhaps the groan of a ship's timbers, the snap of a sail, the whistle of wind through rigging. These sounds are few, but in their sparseness lies peace. It is the hush between notes that makes a song soothing, and the ocean at night is a song of silence punctuated by whispers. In myth, The night sea often represented the unknown. To the Greeks, it was where Odysseus wandered, lost in shadow, guided by gods, and threatened by monsters. To the Vikings, it was the road to Valhalla, where ships carried warriors into the afterlife. To the Japanese, the dark sea was home to yokai spirits of water that emerged under starlight. Each story reflects the same truth, that the ocean at night awakens the imagination, filling it with both wonder and fear. But fear is not what we seek tonight. Tonight, we seek only the wonder. Picture yourself on a quiet boat, drifting far from shore. The deck creaks softly, and above you, stars scatter in numbers you've never seen from land. The Milky Way arches across the sky, mirrored perfectly in the sea below. You feel as if you are suspended between two galaxies, one above, one beneath, floating in the space between. The air is cool, your body rocks gently with the water, and every sense tells you that you are safe, carried by the ocean's endless hands. Science offers its own marvels about the night sea. Creatures of the deep rise closer to the surface under the cover of darkness, in what is called the diel vertical migration. It is the largest movement of life on Earth, happening every night. Tiny plankton, fish, and other organisms drift upward to feed, then sink back into the depths before dawn. It is a nightly tide of living things, invisible to the eye but vast beyond measure. Even when you see nothing on the surface, the water below you is alive with hidden journeys. There is poetry here too. Writers have long been enchanted by the night sea. Herman Melville described its vastness as a kind of silent sermon. Pablo Neruda wrote of the night sea rolling its invisible waves as a lullaby for the restless heart. Japanese haiku masters captured its simplicity in just a few words. Moon on black water, silence stretching beyond the self. These words remind us that the ocean at night is not just a setting, it is an experience of stillness, a meditation in motion. Now, let this become your meditation. As you lie here, imagine the darkness outside your window melting into the sea's darkness. The quiet in your room is the quiet of the ocean at night. Your breath is the tide, steady and soft. Around you, the stars drift slowly across the sky. Each thought that rises in your mind is like a wave cresting and falling, returning gently to the deep. You are not chasing sleep, you are letting it come, like the tide returning to the shore. Perhaps this is the ocean's greatest gift at night. It teaches us surrender. By day, we strive, we chase, we command. But at night, under the gaze of moon and stars, we are reminded that the sea is vast, that the cosmos is larger still, and that we can rest within their embrace. To surrender is not weakness, it is wisdom. It is letting the tide carry you, letting the night hold you, letting the sea sing you into dreams. So close your eyes, see the silver path of moonlight across the waves, hear the hush of water folding into shore. Feel the cool air of the night sea brushing your face. You are part of this rhythm now, a dreamer adrift on waters older than memory. The ocean at night is endless, but it is also gentle. It will hold you until the morning comes. Every living thing that walks, crawls, flies, or dreams today can trace its ancestry back to the sea. Long before forests spread across continents, before animals roamed the land, before even the first simple plants reached upward toward the sun, there was only ocean. In its depths, under pressures and conditions we are still trying to understand, the spark of life first flickered into being. To call the ocean the cradle of life is not poetry alone, it is fact, etched into every drop of blood that courses through our veins. Picture the Earth nearly 4 billion years ago. Its surface was still restless, mountains rising and falling with volcanic fury, meteorites striking, lightning cracking across a sky thick with gas. Amid this chaos, Oceans covered much of the globe, swirling with minerals, salts, and energy. To us now, such waters might seem hostile, acidic, hot, turbulent. But in this apparent hostility lay potential. The building blocks of life amino acids, nucleotides formed, collided, and joined, like letters assembling words for the very first time. One leading theory imagines life's beginning near hydrothermal vents, great chimneys spewing heat and minerals from Earth's interior into the cold abyss. Around them, gradients of temperature and chemistry created a stage for complexity. Tiny molecules clung to mineral surfaces, copying themselves, then combining into chains that grew more sophisticated. Over unfathomable stretches of time, from these humble beginnings, the first cells appeared. Close your eyes for a moment and try to picture it. Not a single creature yet existed with eyes, or bones, or breath. The ocean was filled only with microscopic pioneers, invisible but alive, multiplying slowly in the dark. The world did not notice their arrival, but their presence changed everything. They were the first flickers of order in a universe of chaos, the first whispers of what would one day become whales, trees, birds, and humans. For nearly 3 billion years, life remained simple. Microbes ruled the seas, feeding on minerals, dividing endlessly, adapting to changing currents and climates. And then, in a leap that still feels miraculous, some of these simple cells began to use sunlight. They captured its energy, split water, and released oxygen. Slowly, invisibly, these microbes transformed the atmosphere itself. The air we breathe today, the invisible comfort filling your lungs even now, was a gift of the sea's earliest inhabitants. From there, life blossomed. Tiny multicellular organisms emerged, combining into colonies, experimenting with new forms. Sponges filtered seawater, jellyfish drifted like ghosts, trilobites crawled along the seabed. Each step was patient, written in the slow script of evolution. If you walked along a beach during those ancient times, the shore would look empty, but beneath the waves, a revolution was underway. And then came a moment that reshaped the planet forever. Some creatures left the ocean. Fish grew fins, strong enough to push against mudflats. Lungs evolved from swim bladders, allowing animals to breathe air. They ventured onto land cautiously, their bodies still tied to the water, returning to lay eggs or keep their skin moist. But they had crossed a threshold, and the Earth's empty continents slowly filled with forests, insects, reptiles, and eventually mammals. Yet even as life spread across land, the ocean remained home. It held the memory of beginnings. Every creature carried a piece of that origin inside them. Human blood, rich in salt, has almost the same composition as seawater. Our bodies, mostly water, echo the ocean's proportions. When a baby grows in the womb, it floats in amniotic fluid, a private sea of protection, repeating the conditions of its ancestors' first home. In this way, each of us relives the history of life. First water, then breath, then movement. Myths, too, sensed this truth. The Babylonians told of Tiamat, the primordial sea, whose waters birthed gods and worlds. The Egyptians believed creation began when the first mound of land rose from a cosmic ocean. In Hindu cosmology, Vishnu lies dreaming on the endless serpent Ananta, floating in the cosmic sea from which creation springs. Cultures separated by oceans themselves somehow reached the same idea. All life begins in water. There is something profoundly soothing in this knowledge. To remember that we are children of the sea is to feel less alone. It explains why so many of us are drawn to water the way people sit for hours watching waves, or why floating in the ocean feels like returning home. Somewhere deep in our biology, the memory of the sea lingers. It hums in our cells, whispers in our blood, calls to us in dreams. Even now, The ocean remains the greatest cradle of life. It holds most of the biodiversity on the planet, from microscopic plankton that drift in invisible clouds to the blue whale, larger than any dinosaur that ever lived. Coral reefs teem with life. Kelp forests sway like underwater meadows, and the deep still hides species we have yet to discover. More than 80% of the ocean remains unexplored, meaning the cradle of life continues to rock secrets we have not yet seen. And perhaps, beyond Earth, other oceans wait. Beneath the icy crust of Jupiter's moon, Europa or Saturn's moon, Enceladus, scientists suspect vast seas exist, warmed by hidden heat. If life began in Earth's oceans, might it not also stir in those distant waters? The thought is both humbling and thrilling. The cradle of life may not be singular, but universal. So tonight, as you rest, think of the ocean not as something apart from you, but as your oldest ancestor, your first home. Each wave that rolls upon the shore is kin to your heartbeat. Each drop of salt water carries the memory of beginnings. When you close your eyes and drift into sleep, imagine yourself floating back through time, not minutes or hours, but billions of years, until you are once again part of that first, fragile flicker of life, suspended in a warm and endless sea. In the hush of night, let the cradle of life hold you, as it has held all creatures before you. Let it remind you that beginnings are always possible, that from stillness can come vitality, and from darkness can come light. The ocean cradled the first breath, and tonight, it cradles your dreams. Long before engines hummed and radios crackled, the ocean was crossed by men and women whose only companions were stars, sails, and song. Ancient sailors did not move in silence. They worked, rowed, and dreamed to the rhythm of music, a simple human response to the vastness of the sea. When waves stretched endlessly in every direction, when the horizon offered no change, voices rose to give shape to time. Songs became both compass and comfort, a way of keeping loneliness at bay and transforming labor into rhythm. Imagine a crew of oarsmen on a Phoenician galley. The Mediterranean sun beats down, the sails hang slack, and the only way forward is through muscle. The captain calls the tempo, but it is the singers who give it life. A chant rises short, repeated phrases, easy to remember, easy to follow. Each stroke of the oar lands with the beat, the ship gliding forward as if the ocean itself were keeping time. The melody is not complex. It is not meant to impress. It is meant to bind, to make many arms into one body, many voices into one sound. Centuries later, Norse sailors braving the cold North Atlantic would chant sagas as they rowed. Their songs told of gods and heroes, of journeys past and journeys yet to come. The rhythm kept frost from freezing their spirits. The verses gave them courage against icy winds. Imagine the sound echoing across fjords, a deep call rolling through mist, half prayer, half battle cry. For them, song was survival, a way of holding fear at bay when storms howled. In the Pacific, Polynesian voyagers filled their canoes with chants known as mele. These songs were not only for rhythm but for memory. They carried genealogies, histories, and maps of stars. A sailor might sing the names of constellations, the order of swells, the stories of winds, so that knowledge lived not on parchment but in voice. To lose the song was to lose the way. To sing was to survive. Their music was both navigation and legacy, tying the present voyage to the ancestors who first crossed the same seas. Even in later centuries, when tall ships carried explorers and merchants across oceans, songs endured. Sailors called them sea shanties, work songs, designed for hauling ropes, raising sails, and scrubbing decks. Heave-ho, they sang, voices rising with the effort, laughter woven into exhaustion. Without these songs, the work would have been grueling. With them, the ship seemed to breathe with its crew. each task lightened by rhythm. A chorus could lift more than a rope, it could lift spirits too. There is something profoundly human in this practice. Wherever there is vastness, we answer with music. Faced with an ocean too large to comprehend, sailors responded by filling it with sound. A lone voice on deck might feel small, but when joined by others, it became powerful, resonant, enough to echo across waves. In their songs, they carried pieces of home accents from distant harbors, melodies from villages left behind. Singing was a tether, a reminder that even in the middle of nowhere, they belonged somewhere. Think of it now as a lullaby across centuries. Close your eyes and hear the deep, rhythmic chant of oarsmen, the sagas of Norsemen, the Polynesian May, the shanties of wooden ships. Different languages, different oceans, but the same purpose: to bring order to chaos, to make labor bearable, to remind weary hearts of community. Each note floats across time, reminding us that the sea has always invited music. And perhaps, beyond practicality, there is something spiritual in it. The ocean itself is rhythmic. Waves rise and fall. Tides come and go. By singing in rhythm, sailors aligned themselves with the sea's pulse. Their chants were not only human invention, but echo, reflection, mimicry of the ocean's own song. In this way, man and sea were less adversaries, more companions, joined in a chorus that carried ships to distant shores. Science tells us that singing together creates synchronization in the brain. Heartbeats align, breathing harmonizes, stress melts. In ancient crews, this would have been felt instinctively. The moment voices joined, the crew became stronger, calmer, more united. What science describes today, sailors already knew in their bones. There are stories, too, of songs carrying hope. When enslaved Africans were forced onto ships bound across the Atlantic, they carried with them fragments of melody, rhythms beaten softly into the planks, whispers of heritage that endured even in suffering. Those songs survived the ocean's cruelty, evolving into new forms of music generations later. In this, we see that song is more than survival. It is resilience, proof that the human spirit cannot be silenced, even by endless waves. Picture yourself now, lying in your bed, but imagine it as the deck of a ship. The night is quiet, except for the sound of voices rising around you. They sing not to you, but with you, because song invites participation. You feel your breath fall in rhythm, your thoughts slow to the beat. The melody is simple, hypnotic, like a chant designed to keep the oars moving. You are carried, not only by the ship, but by the voices, until you no longer know where you end, and they begin. Perhaps this is the secret gift of the songs of sailors. They blur boundaries, between man and sea, between loneliness and belonging, between labor and joy. They turn the hard edges of reality into something softer, something that can be endured. They remind us that even when surrounded by emptiness, we can create meaning together. So let their songs drift into your dreams tonight. Let the chant of oarsmen become your breath. Let the Norse sagas wrap you in courage. Let the Polynesian mail carry you across starlit waters. Let the sea shanties remind you that work is lighter when sung. And let the resilience of all voices remind you that even in the middle of life's vast ocean, you are never truly alone. The sea is wide, the journey long, but the song endures. It echoes across centuries, across waters, across hearts. And tonight, it echoes here, gently guiding you, like a lullaby from the ancient decks of memory. The ocean has always been more than water. To poets, philosophers, and dreamers, it has been a mirror of the soul, a metaphor for eternity, a symbol of freedom and fear alike. When words fail to contain the vastness of human thought, the sea becomes its chosen language. Its horizon, endless and unreachable, reflects the longings and questions that dwell within us. Take the words of Homer, the ancient Greek poet, who wrote of the wine-dark sea. He used that phrase again and again, as if no other description could capture the ocean's shifting mystery. To him, the sea was a stage for Odysseus's wanderings, a space where human will met divine power. It was not just a backdrop, but a character, capable of testing, punishing, and sometimes guiding. Through Homer, we see the ocean as destiny itself, vast, capricious, irresistible. Centuries later, the Persian poet Rumi saw the ocean differently. To him, the sea was a metaphor for the infinite divine. "You are not a drop in the ocean," he wrote. "You are the entire ocean in a drop." His vision was not of struggle but of unity, of dissolving the boundaries between self and cosmos. In Rumi's lines, the sea becomes a reminder that within each of us lies vastness, that our souls are not separate islands, but reflections of the boundless whole. Philosophers, too, have turned to the ocean for language. The Stoics of ancient Rome compared life's unpredictability to the sea. A person, they said, cannot control the wind or the waves, but they can learn to steer their ship. The ocean, in this view, is not a foe, but a teacher showing us the limits of control and the necessity of acceptance. To navigate life well is to learn, like a sailor, to adjust your sails, not to curse the storm. Even in Eastern philosophy, the sea carries wisdom. In Taoism, water is praised for its softness, its humility. It yields, yet wears down mountains. It seeks the lowest places, yet nourishes all. The ocean, as the gathering of all waters, becomes the supreme example of Tao, effortless power, quiet endurance, strength through surrender. To contemplate the sea, then, is to glimpse the wisdom of letting go. Poets of the Romantic era found in the ocean both beauty and terror. Lord Byron, who swam the Hellespont and loved the sea with passion, called it the image of eternity. He marveled at its power to humble kings and nations alike. Meanwhile, Samuel Taylor Coleridge wrote of a cursed ship drifting on endless waves, haunted by the albatross, reminding us that the sea can reflect the darker depths of the human spirit. In their works, the ocean becomes both muse and mirror, beautiful, dangerous, irresistible. And then there are the quiet reflections of haiku poets in Japan. Basho wrote of moonlight on water, frogs leaping into ponds, waves lapping gently on shores. These poems are not about conquest or fear, but about presence. A moment of stillness by the sea becomes a meditation, a way of experiencing eternity in the small. For them, the ocean is not grand metaphor but simple truth. A reminder to see clearly, to breathe deeply, to notice. Science itself, when it speaks of the sea, sometimes slips into poetry. Jacques Cousteau, the famed explorer, described the ocean as the great unifier, man's only hope. Now, as never before, the old phrase has literal meaning. We are all in the same boat. His words, though grounded in fact, rise into philosophy. The ocean is not just salt water, it is our shared origin, our shared future. Think of how these voices echo through time. Homer's sea of fate, Rumi's sea of unity, the Stoics' sea of acceptance, Taoist water as wisdom, romantic seas of awe and fear, Basho's sea of stillness, Cousteau's sea of connection. Each is true in its own way, each a reflection of the same endless water. Like the ocean itself, which shifts color under different skies, the meaning of the sea changes depending on the eyes that look upon it. Now, imagine yourself listening to these voices as you sit by the shore at twilight. The waves roll softly, and with each crest comes a whisper from history. Homer asks you to consider destiny. Rumi invites you to see infinity within. The Stoics remind you to steer with patience. Taoism suggests you let go. Byron thrills you with passion. Coleridge warns you of hubris. Basho calms you with moonlight. Cousteau unites you with humanity. Each wave carries another thought, another perspective, until the ocean becomes not just water, but a library of wisdom. Why does the sea inspire so much philosophy and poetry? Perhaps because it is both known and unknown. We stand at its edge, we touch it, we drink it, yet we cannot hold it, cannot own it, cannot see its depths. It reminds us of our limits, and in doing so, it humbles us into wonder. Tonight, as you drift towards sleep, let these thoughts be gentle tides. Your mind, like the ocean, contains both storms and calms, both darkness and light. You do not need to resolve them all. You only need to float, to let the waves of thought come and go. Poetry and philosophy are not answers. They are companions, like distant stars guiding sailors. The ocean has always been their muse, and tonight it is yours. So close your eyes. Imagine the words of poets as shells scattered on a beach. Pick one up, it whispers of destiny. Another speaks of surrender, another glows with infinity. Collect them not as burdens, but as gifts. Let them remind you that you are part of something vast, something beautiful, something eternal. And like the sea, your soul is deeper than you can ever measure. The ocean is vast enough to be familiar, yet strange enough to hold secrets that few ever see. Beyond the ordinary rhythm of waves and tides, there are rare phenomena that reveal the sea's hidden artistry, moments so unusual and breathtaking that even scientists, when they encounter them, are humbled into silence. These marvels remind us that the ocean is not only a place of constancy, but also of surprise, capable of painting beauty on scales we can scarcely imagine. One of the most mysterious wonders is the Milky Sea. Sailors through history told tales of entire stretches of ocean glowing with an eerie, ghostly light, so bright that ships could sail through the night without lamps. For centuries, many dismissed these accounts as fantasy. But modern satellites have confirmed them. Vast blooms of bioluminescent bacteria covering areas as large as entire countries, turning the ocean into a rolling plain of light. Imagine standing on the deck of a ship, surrounded in every direction by a sea that glows like liquid moonlight, each wave a ripple of silver-blue radiance. The air is quiet, the water luminous, as though you are adrift in a dream that has no edges. Another phenomenon is the underwater river, found in places like the Black Sea or Mexico's cenotes. In these unique environments, layers of saltwater and freshwater separate, creating the illusion of rivers flowing beneath the sea. Divers describe the experience as surreal, descending into the depths only to see banks, currents, and even tree trunks beneath them, all formed of heavier, denser brine. To swim above such a river is to feel as though you are floating through a story told by two worlds, at once ocean and river, reality and illusion. There are also the strange internal waves, invisible from the surface but massive beneath. Unlike the waves we see breaking on beaches, these move along layers of water with different densities, rolling silently in the dark. Some can be taller than skyscrapers, yet they pass unseen, giants hidden beneath the calm. Submariners have spoken of their presence, the way entire vessels can be lifted or dropped by their silent force. They are the ocean's secret breath, moving mountains of water where no eye can follow. Then there are rare tides and surges that defy expectation. In places like the Bay of Fundy in Canada, the ocean rises and falls by more than 50 feet each day, creating tidal bores, walls of water that rush upriver against the current, foaming and roaring like liquid avalanches. To stand on the shore and witness such a tide is to see gravity's power made visible, the moon's pull amplified into drama. And yet, even here, amid the rush and roar, there is rhythm, the same cycle repeated endlessly. Retreat, return, retreat again. Sometimes the ocean reveals its strangeness in sound. In 1997, scientists recorded a low, haunting noise in the Pacific, so loud it was picked up across thousands of miles. They called it the bloop. At first, Some wondered if it was the call of an undiscovered giant creature. Later, it was likely explained as the cracking of icebergs. Yet the mystery lingers in the imagination, the thought that the sea might still hold voices unknown, too vast for us to comprehend. Other phenomena appear briefly, like whispers. The green flash at sunset or sunrise, when the last or first ray of light bends through the atmosphere to appear as a quick emerald spark on the horizon. Sailors once believed it was a sign of luck, a blessing for voyages. Today, travelers still wait at dusk with patient eyes, hoping to catch that fleeting jewel of light where sea meets sky. Volcanic eruptions beneath the ocean create yet another spectacle. Sometimes, entire new islands are born overnight, bubbling from the seafloor, rising from fire to meet air. Smoke, ash, and pumice spread across the surface, turning the sea into a field of floating stone. To witness such a birth is to see the planet remaking itself, the deep ocean writing new geography in a single night. And then there is the phenomenon of rogue waves, walls of water rising seemingly from nowhere, towering 2 or 3 times higher than surrounding waves. Once thought to be sailors' exaggerations, they are now confirmed by satellites and instruments. They remind us that the sea is not only gentle, but also unpredictable, that its surprises can be awe-inspiring and fearsome in equal measure. But even these monstrous waves carry a kind of beauty, raw, untamed energy, a reminder that nature is larger than us, more powerful than our plans. Myths often wove these rare events into their stories. Milky seas became oceans touched by gods, glowing to mark divine passage. Underwater rivers were believed to be gateways to other realms, thresholds between the living and the dead. Rogue waves were the hands of sea giants, swatting ships as though they were toys. For ancient minds, the ocean's surprises were not anomalies, they were messages, signs, stories written in salt and tide. Science today explains much of this, yet the wonder remains. To know that bacteria can light a sea, that currents can sculpt rivers beneath waves, that the earth can birth islands overnight, is no less magical for being true. The ocean teaches us again and again that reality itself can be stranger and more enchanting than imagination. Now, as you rest, imagine yourself witnessing these wonders. Picture sailing through a milky sea, the water glowing so brightly you feel as if you are floating through a galaxy. Picture diving into an underwater river, drifting above a current that looks like smoke, curling through the sea's silent halls. Picture standing at dusk, waiting for the green flash, that brief spark reminding you that the world still holds surprises. Let these images soothe you, not with their strangeness, but with their beauty. For in the end, rare phenomena remind us of a truth worth carrying to sleep, that life is full of wonders we may never see, but knowing they exist is enough to soften the heart. The ocean, like dreams, hides marvels beneath its surface. Sometimes they rise, glowing, roaring, flashing. Sometimes they remain secret, waiting. Both truths are comforting. For just as you drift into dreams now, you too are entering a realm where the ordinary becomes extraordinary, where the hidden becomes luminous. And perhaps, in your sleep, you will find your own rare phenomena visions glowing like milky seas, rivers running through clouds, flashes of green light on horizons unseen. The ocean, vast and mysterious, is always there, whispering surprises. Tonight, it whispers to you. Few stories have lingered in the human imagination as long or as deeply as the tale of Atlantis. A city said to be magnificent, radiant with temples of gold and ivory, filled with knowledge and power beyond its age, yet lost beneath the waves in a single day and night. Whether it was ever real or only a parable, Atlantis continues to rise again and again in our dreams, as if the ocean itself wants to remind us of the fragility of greatness. The story begins with the philosopher Plato, writing nearly 2,400 years ago. He described Atlantis as a mighty island beyond the Pillars of Hercules, what we now call the Strait of Gibraltar. Its people, he wrote, were wealthy and wise, masters of architecture and science. Their palaces glittered with metals unknown, their harbours teemed with ships, their fields produced abundance. It was, in every sense, a vision of utopia. Yet pride corrupted them. Their power grew restless, their ambitions stretched too far, and in punishment, the gods sent earthquakes and floods that swallowed Atlantis whole. For Plato, Atlantis was a moral lesson, a warning against arrogance, but for generations after, it became more than philosophy. It became a mystery to solve. Did Atlantis exist? Was it hidden somewhere beneath waves, waiting to be rediscovered? Explorers searched maps for clues. Some placed it in the Mediterranean, others in the Caribbean, others still beneath the cold waters of the Atlantic itself. Every lost ruin, every sunken wall was whispered to be Atlantis reborn. Imagine, for a moment, what it must have felt like to hear Plato's words for the first time. To picture a shining city ringed by canals, filled with marble temples, its people gazing at stars and seas with wisdom beyond their age. And then to picture it gone, erased in a night, leaving only silence where once there was song. Such contrast is haunting. It is no wonder that the tale took root, becoming not just a story but a dream humanity refuses to let go of. Legends grew around the idea. Some said the Atlanteans were not lost at all, but fled to Egypt, bringing knowledge that shaped the pyramids. Others believed their descendants built temples in Central America, their wisdom echoing through Mayan and Aztec civilizations. Still others whispered that Atlantis was not destroyed, but transformed, hidden in another realm, waiting for humanity to prove itself worthy of return. Modern science is cautious. Archaeologists argue that Atlantis may have been inspired by real events. Perhaps the volcanic eruption that destroyed the island of Santorini around 1600 BCE, or the flooding of coastal cities as seas rose after the Ice Age. These disasters left scars deep enough to seed myth. But whether or not Atlantis ever existed as Plato described, its power lies less in fact than in longing. Why does Atlantis fascinate us so much? Perhaps because it represents a paradox. It is both a dream of perfection and a reminder of impermanence. We long for its beauty, its wisdom, its harmony, yet we cannot escape its fate gone in an instant, humbled by the sea. It teaches us that nothing, however radiant, is immune to time and nature. And yet, the dream persists. Because to imagine Atlantis is also to imagine possibility that greatness once existed and could exist again. Picture yourself now wandering its imagined streets. The stone is cool beneath your feet, carved with symbols no one alive remembers. Towers rise, reflecting sunlight, their domes gleaming with gold. Water flows through canals, sparkling as it winds through gardens. Voices sing in marketplaces. Scholars study in halls. Children run along polished courtyards, all of it alive, all of it vibrant. And then, as you turn a corner, the scene fades. Walls blur, towers sink, voices dissolve into bubbles. You realize you are dreaming, standing not in a city, but in the ocean itself. The ruins hidden, the songs remembered only in water's hush. There is something soothing in this vision, because Atlantis belongs to dreams more than to history. It is not bound by fact or measurement. It drifts, like myth, like poetry, filling the spaces between waking and sleeping. To think of Atlantis before bed is to invite the mind to wander not to the certainty of maps, but to the freedom of imagination. Even science, in its way, honors this. For in the ocean's depths, we continue to discover ruins of real cities, ancient harbors now submerged, temples lost to rising tides, stone roads hidden beneath silt. Each discovery is a reminder that the sea is both a cradle and a keeper of memory. Atlantis, whether real or imagined, represents all of these forgotten places, all the civilizations swallowed by waves, yet still alive in our stories. And perhaps beyond Earth, there are Atlantean echoes too, on distant moons where oceans lie hidden beneath ice. There may be worlds with their own histories, their own rises and falls, their own lost cities waiting to be imagined. The dream of Atlantis, then, may not belong only to our planet. It may be universal. The hope that beauty exists, the acceptance that it fades, the belief that memory makes it eternal. So tonight, as you rest, let Atlantis be your lullaby. Imagine its towers gleaming in starlight, its canals whispering with flowing water, its people gazing at constellations long forgotten. Imagine the silence that followed, the ocean folding over it like a blanket, preserving its secrets. And let that silence soothe you, because it speaks a truth worth carrying into sleep, that all things, no matter how grand, eventually rest. And in that rest, they are not lost, they are transformed. The ocean holds Atlantis not as ruin, but as dream. And dreams, like tides, always return. The ocean is no stranger to storms. For as long as humans have sailed, they have feared the sudden rage of waves, the sky splitting with lightning, winds roaring like wild gods. A calm sea can change in an instant. What was gentle becomes violent. What was silver blue turns black and foaming. Yet, even in the most terrifying tempests, there is a secret of peace, the eye of the storm, a pocket of stillness surrounded by chaos. This paradox that tranquility can exist at the very heart of fury is one of the ocean's most profound lessons. Picture a hurricane viewed from above. Satellites show it as a perfect spiral, arms of cloud twisting outward for hundreds of miles. Winds howl around its edges, seas rise in mountainous waves, rain lashes like whips. But in the very center, at the storm's core, there is calm. The air is still. The sky may even clear to reveal a patch of blue. Sailors caught in such storms have spoken of the eerie silence of the eye, of standing on decks moments after battling chaos, and feeling as though they had stepped into another world. It is unsettling, yet also awe-inspiring, a reminder that peace and violence are not opposites, but neighbors. The science of the eye is fascinating. As warm, moist air spirals inward, it rises, cools, and releases energy in the form of rain and wind. Around the eye, this process is ferocious. The eye wall is where the storm is strongest, winds at their most devastating. But at the very center, air sinks gently instead of rising. This sinking motion suppresses clouds, creating the stillness of the eye, so the calm is not an accident. It is born from the storm itself. Without chaos, there would be no center of quiet. This is more than meteorology, it is metaphor. Life too has its storms, moments of upheaval, grief, fear, and uncertainty. And yet, often within those times, there is a strange clarity, a pause, a breath. In mourning, people sometimes find profound love. In crisis, they discover strength they never knew. In chaos, there can be moments of stillness that feel deeper than ordinary peace. The eye of the storm is nature's reminder that even in turbulence, there are sanctuaries of calm. Myths reflect this paradox. In Hindu stories, the god Vishnu lies sleeping on the cosmic ocean, while storms rage around him. His stillness sustains the universe. In Norse myth, amid Ragnarok, the end of all things, there is said to be a hall of safety where survivors rest, untouched by flames. In Buddhism, the idea of the unmoving center is often likened to the calm within storms. The mind can remain steady, while thoughts and troubles whirl like winds around it. The sea, through its tempests, teaches us these truths in waves and winds instead of words. Now imagine yourself on a ship caught in such a storm. The deck tilts wildly. Rain lashes your face. Thunder splits the sky. You cling to the rail, breath ragged, heart pounding. Then, suddenly, it all changes. The wind falls. The rain eases. Clouds above part to reveal stars, pale and steady. Around you, the sea still rolls, but in the center where you drift, there is quiet. Your chest loosens, your grip softens, and you realize that for this moment, you are held in balance, storm without, peace within. This image can be carried into your own rest. Whatever storms you face, anxieties, responsibilities, the constant motion of thought there is always an eye waiting. Beneath the swirl of your mind, there is a center that is calm, unshaken. Meditation teachers often guide their students to imagine themselves as the eye, watching thoughts and emotions pass like clouds. Tonight, as you prepare to sleep, you too can rest in that eye. The world may whirl, but within, you are still. Science confirms the soothing power of storms when experienced safely. The sound of rain, the low rumble of thunder, even recordings of hurricanes all can lower heart rates, lulling the mind. Pink noise, like the roar of waves or steady rainfall, synchronizes with brain rhythms, helping sleep. So while storms once terrified, they can also cradle. To listen to a storm from safety is to feel the contrast of chaos and calm at once, a lullaby written in thunder. Think also of sailors throughout history, those who feared storms most. Many of them, paradoxically, prayed not only for safety, but for strength to endure. Their journals describe moments of stillness in storms as divine gifts, reminders that even in destruction there was order. Some called the eye of the storm the breath of God. Others saw it as the sea's mercy, offering rest before trial resumed. Now, bring this lesson closer. Imagine your own worries as winds swirling, loud and relentless. They circle you, but they do not touch your center. There, at the heart of your being, is calm. The eye of the storm is not somewhere outside it, is within you. It is the part of you that remains whole no matter what happens, the part that watches and waits with patience. To sleep is to return to that center, to surrender the winds and rest in stillness. So tonight, let yourself drift into the storm's eye. Hear the distant thunder as background music, not threat. Feel the rain not as assault, but as rhythm. Sense the winds circling far away, powerless to shake your core. You are the calm at the center. You are the stillness in the spiral. And as you close your eyes, know this: storms pass. They roar, they whirl, they break, but the calm remains. The sea teaches us that even in chaos, peace is possible, waiting quietly at the heart of things. The ocean's lesson is simple, yet eternal. Within the fiercest storms, serenity survives. From the first moment humans gazed at the horizon, the sea has been more than water. It has been a dream, a vast, glittering expanse that seemed to promise both danger and wonder. To stand at the edge of land and look out across waves is to feel curiosity awaken, to sense a call that has echoed through every culture, every age. Humanity's relationship with the ocean is not only practical, it is profoundly imaginative. Think of the earliest explorers, staring at the line where sky meets sea. To step into a canoe or a raft was an act of courage, but also of dreaming. Perhaps there was land beyond the horizon, perhaps not. Perhaps there were monsters, whirlpools, edges where the world simply fell away. Still, they went, not because they knew, but because they wondered. Curiosity is humanity's sail, and the sea has always been its wind. The Polynesians dreamed across thousands of miles of Pacific Ocean. Guided by stars, clouds, and the rhythm of swells, they reached islands no one had ever seen, connecting scattered worlds with invisible threads. Their voyages were not blind leaps, but acts of profound imagination, to believe that in a horizon of water, land might wait unseen. When they set out, they carried not just food and tools, but songs, stories, and dreams. In Europe, dreamers launched ships toward the unknown Atlantic. Some sought trade, some sought conquest, some sought truth. Christopher Columbus dreamed of new routes to Asia and stumbled upon continents he had not imagined. Vasco da Gama dreamed of circling Africa and reaching the riches of India. Ferdinand Magellan dreamed of circling the globe itself, proving that the sea could bind all shores into one. These dreams changed maps, reshaped empires, and redefined what humanity believed possible. But not all dreams were about conquest. For poets and lovers, the sea became a setting of romance and longing. Think of lovers walking the shore, leaving footprints side by side, watching the tide erase them. Think of letters written by sailors to those waiting at home, words carried across months of waves. The sea has been the backdrop of partings and reunions, of whispered promises and aching silences. Its endless horizon mirrors the endlessness of love, sometimes calm, sometimes stormy, always deep. Artists, too, have dreamed through the sea. Painters filled canvases with crashing waves and golden sunsets, capturing the drama and peace of water. Musicians wrote symphonies inspired by tides, each crescendo like a wave, each pause like a retreating shore. Writers set stories on islands, in shipwrecks, on voyages, knowing that the sea offers both stage and metaphor. For to write of the sea is always to write of the self, our fears, our hopes, our longing for what lies beyond sight. Science itself was born of sea dreaming. Ancient astronomers noticed that tides followed the moon, sparking questions about gravity. Naturalists voyaged across oceans, collecting shells, cataloguing fish, sketching birds that migrated between continents. Charles Darwin, aboard the Beagle, dreamed of understanding life's diversity while sailing to the Galapagos. Marie Tharp, centuries later, dreamed of mapping the ocean floor, revealing mountains and valleys hidden beneath waves. Every leap in ocean science began with a dream. What lies beneath? What lies beyond? And still, the sea feeds our imagination today. We dream of lost cities like Atlantis, glowing beneath waves. We dream of mermaids, half human and half sea, singing songs in the dark. We dream of giant squids battling whales, of sea serpents coiling through depths. Even with satellites and submarines, mysteries remain. Over 80% of the ocean is still unmapped, unexplored. It is as if the Earth itself keeps dreaming, holding secrets for future generations to discover. There is something deeply soothing in humanity's dreams of the sea, because they remind us that longing itself is universal. Whether we dream of distant islands, of new knowledge, of love waiting across waters, or of mythic creatures beneath, the sea unites us in our wondering. Every culture, every age, has looked at water and seen more than reflection. They have seen possibility. Now imagine yourself walking a quiet shore at dusk. The sea stretches endlessly, waves glowing faintly in moonlight. You know that beyond the horizon are other lands, other lives, other stories. You cannot see them, but you can feel them. The horizon is not a boundary, it is an invitation. You stand there, like countless dreamers before you, filled with curiosity. The sea does not answer your questions, but it whispers back, "Come, see, imagine." And then, imagine lying down on the sand, listening to the waves. Each one is like a dream, carried from far away, one from a distant island, another from a sunken city, another from a ship long gone. The waves roll in, leaving gifts of memory and mystery at your feet. They retreat, then return again, as if to remind you that dreams never vanish. They ebb, they flow, they circle back. Perhaps this is why the sea is such a powerful symbol of sleep. To fall asleep is itself a kind of voyage. You leave the shore of waking, drift into darkness, and arrive in landscapes unseen. Each dream is like an island rising out of the night. Some are strange, some are familiar, but all remind you that the horizon is never the end. Beyond it lies something new. So tonight, let the ocean's dreams become your own. Dream of islands not yet found, of songs not yet sung, of discoveries not yet made. Dream of love carried across waves, of ships guided by stars, of poets staring at the horizon with pens ready. Dream of myths and mysteries, of glowing seas and whispering tides. For in dreams, as in the sea, nothing is final. Everything moves, flows, and returns. And when morning comes, remember this: humanity has always dreamed with the sea. And you are part of that story. Each time you wonder, each time you imagine, each time you look beyond what you can see, you are continuing the same tradition that carried canoes across the Pacific, that filled poets with words, that sent explorers into the unknown. The sea dreams with us, and we dream with the sea. The ocean has carried us far. We have wandered through its shallow gardens of coral and its glowing depths of bioluminescence. We have listened to the songs of whales and watched the tides dance with the moon. We have stood on solitary islands, sailed through myths of Atlantis, and even discovered peace in the eye of storms. Now, at the end of this voyage, the sea invites us not to another discovery, but to rest. For just as every tide must return to shore, every journey must return to silence. Imagine yourself once more at the edge of a quiet beach. The night is gentle, the sky vast, and the waves roll in with the slow rhythm of breath. Each one is a lullaby, each sigh of water against sand, a whisper urging you to release the weight of the day. The ocean is not asking you to think anymore. It is asking you to surrender. The sea is a master of endings and of beginnings. For billions of years, it has seen lives rise and fall, ships depart and return, civilizations bloom and fade. Yet it remains. Its waves carry the memory of all things, but they do not cling. They let go. A wave rises. It shines for a moment, then it falls back into the whole. So too with your thoughts. Tonight, let them rise. Notice them, honor them, then let them retreat into the greater sea of your mind. You do not need to hold them. The ocean will hold them for you. As you listen, notice the rhythm. Inhale, the tide rises. Exhale, the tide falls. Your breath is not separate from the sea. It is part of the same eternal motion. The more you breathe, the more you feel the boundary between yourself and the world blur. You are not standing by the sea anymore. You are the sea, vast, calm, eternal. Think of the myths we have visited: Poseidon with his trident, Tangaroa guiding voyagers, Rumi's ocean hidden in every drop, Plato's dream of Atlantis. All of them were ways of saying the same thing, that the sea is larger than us, and yet it lives within us. The ocean does not belong only to maps or myths. It belongs to every breath, every cell, every dream. Tonight, as you drift toward sleep, you are stepping into that lineage, joining the countless dreamers who have let the sound of waves guide them into rest. The philosopher Seneca once wrote, "There is no harbor anywhere for a man more peaceful and free from trouble than in his own soul." Perhaps he did not realize that he was describing the ocean itself. For when you rest, when you find the calm within, you are entering your own inner sea, a harbor untouched by storms. There, no wind can reach you, no tide can disturb you. It is your sanctuary, as timeless as the deep. Picture yourself now, floating just beneath the surface of calm water. The stars are above you, mirrored in the sea. Your body is weightless, carried by the waves. You do not need to swim, the water holds you. You do not need to think, the water thinks for you. Around you, silence. Within you, peace. This is the gift of the ocean, to remind us that rest is not earned, it is given, like the tide returning without fail. Even science echoes this truth. The sound of waves lowers the heart rate, synchronizes the brain, encourages sleep. It is as though the body remembers the ocean's cradle, remembers the amniotic seas from which all life emerged. When we sleep to the ocean's rhythm, we are returning to our first home. That is why the ocean comforts us, not as strangers, but as children returning to a parent's embrace. So, let yourself drift. If your mind still resists, imagine each thought as a shell placed gently on the sand. The tide will come, cover it, carry it away. One by one, your worries dissolve, smoothed into silence. All that remains is rhythm, waves rising, waves falling, breath rising, breath falling. You are carried now, no longer at the helm, no longer steering, the sea steers for you. And in this surrender, there is no loss, there is only transformation. For just as every wave that falls becomes part of the deep again, so too do you fall into sleep, not an end, but a return to silence, to renewal, to the soft mystery that waits in dreams. So, close your eyes now. Hear the hush of water folding into sand. Feel the tide of your breath rise and fall. Know that you are safe, carried, loved, eternal, as the ocean itself. The journey ends, but the ocean continues. It will be there tomorrow, and the next day, and long after. For tonight, let it keep watch while you rest. Sleep deeply, peacefully, as though you are a pearl cradled in an oyster, a shell sinking softly to the seabed, a wave dissolving gently into the whole. Good night, dear traveler. May the ocean's lullaby carry you into dreams as vast as its waters, as timeless as its tides. The sea does not end where the shore begins. Long after you have turned away, it continues to breathe, whispering to itself under the moon. Its waves move in patterns older than language, older than memory. The ocean does not sleep, yet it dreams, and tonight it dreams through you. Drift a little further now, past the boundary of words. The beach behind you has dissolved into mist. The stars above have softened into glowing dust. You are floating somewhere between sky and water, where everything feels weightless. In this place, sound slows down. Even the pulse in your wrist seems to follow the rhythm of the tide. The ocean is vast, but in its vastness there is comfort. Its immensity takes from you the burden of being large, of being important, of being always awake. Here, in the quiet, you can be small again, not insignificant, but unburdened like a single drop returning to the sea that has been waiting for it all along. You may remember moments in your own life that felt like storms, those nights of noise and chaos, when your thoughts crashed like waves. But now you can see that even the fiercest storms belong to the sea's larger peace. The thunder fades, the winds pass, what remains is always the same, the slow, steady heartbeat of the water. Float here, feel it. The surface rises and falls beneath you, each motion slower than the last. There is no direction now, no distance, no need. The body loosens its grip on time. The mind becomes translucent, like the water itself. Far below, strange lights shimmer creatures, drifting in graceful silence, their bodies glowing with the softest blue. They move with purpose, but not hurry. It is as if the ocean has invented a way of existing without struggle, a way of being that is pure presence. Perhaps this is what sleep truly is, not absence, but presence without effort. The sea has seen everything. Empires have risen on its shores and vanished beneath its tides. Ships have crossed it, carrying love letters, gold, and grief. Yet the water remembers none of it with sorrow. It simply folds each memory into its depths, transforming it into calm. This, too, is what rest means: to stop clinging, to let what was sink, to trust that the deep will hold it gently. If you listen closely now, the sea speaks not in words, but in rhythm. It tells you that you are safe. It tells you that the world can wait. It tells you that rest is not laziness, but reverence. The ocean knows that everything moves in cycles: work and rest, light and darkness, storm and calm. To deny sleep would be to deny half of life. There is a quiet philosophy in the sea's motion. It does not hurry to its destination, because it has none. It does not resist the shore. It simply reshapes it, grain by grain, wave by wave. Every motion is both destruction and renewal. In this, it is like the breath you take. Every inhale makes space for the next exhale. The secret of peace lies in this rhythm, never forcing, never clinging, always flowing. Now imagine the ocean centuries from now. The same moon above, the same waves moving, the same lullaby of water folding against sand. The world will have changed. Faces will have come and gone. But the sea will still be here, telling the same story to whoever listens, that everything passes, but nothing is lost. You are part of that story. Your body, after all, is mostly ocean. The salt on your skin, the tears that fall from your eyes, the pulse of your heart, they are the ocean remembering itself. You are not merely in the world is in you. The sea's calm is your calm. The sea's depth is your depth. As you float in this thought, feel your body sinking deeper into stillness. Your muscles unwind, like ropes untied from a dock. Your breath slows, even, rhythmic. The weight of your eyelids grows heavier, as though gravity itself were the sea's gentle hand. The mind begins to drift away from thought, toward sensation, toward peace. Perhaps you can sense something ancient stirring in this quiet. Not memory, exactly, but familiarity, as though you have been here before language, before life, as you know it. Perhaps this is the same calm that held the first cells of life, that cradled our ancestors in the beginning. Perhaps this is what the soul recognizes each night when it returns to sleep, the great return to water, to stillness, to home. And if the sea could speak in human words, it might whisper something like this: you are not broken. You are not behind. You are not lost. You are simply between tides. Each wave that rises eventually falls. Each thought that troubles you will fade. Each moment of tension will soften, given time. You do not have to fix everything tonight. You do not have to reach the shore. The ocean holds you where you are, exactly as you are, and that is enough. Look upward, in your mind's eye. The stars shimmer faintly on the surface. You can almost see them ripple with the waves, as if the heavens and the ocean were one continuous sky. This illusion is comforting, because it is true in spirit, if not in form. Everything mirrors everything else. The sea reflects the stars, and the stars reflect you. Now, even the waves begin to fade. The rhythm slows, the water becomes glassy, motionless. The only sound left is the pulse of your own heart, the quiet proof that you are alive and resting. In the distance, dawn is beginning to form a faint silver on the horizon, but you will not follow it yet. The world can wait. Morning will come in its own time. For now, you remain in this space between night and day, awake and asleep, shore and sea. And in this liminal space, something beautiful happens. The self dissolves, not in loss, but in union. You are not separate from the ocean, nor from the air, nor from the silence. You are everything at once: the wave, the wind, the calm, the deep. It is not that you have fallen asleep, it is that you have returned home. Let the final words come to you not as sentences, but as sensations. The cool touch of mist, the warmth of starlight, the steady hush of water folding into sand, the deep exhale that feels like eternity. The sea does not end, and neither does peace. Both are always here, waiting for you to listen. So rest now, traveler. Rest as the tide rests after reaching the shore. Rest as the stars rest in their slow drift across the sky. Rest as the world itself rests in its turning. You have crossed the vast ocean of thought. You have reached the still harbor of sleep. And somewhere in the distance, beyond sound and time, the ocean continues its gentle song. A lullaby, older than words. A rhythm that has never stopped. There is a moment, just before sleep truly arrives, when the mind drifts between waking and dreaming. It is a shoreline of consciousness, soft, shifting, neither one thing nor the other. That is where you are now. The waves of thought that once rose high are quieter. The tide has gone out, leaving smooth sand where reflection can settle. You are standing at the edge of two worlds, and the sea is here to guide you across. The ocean never hurries you. It knows that everything worth reaching can only be reached slowly. That is why its movements are patient, circular, infinite. It rises, it falls, it returns. Tonight, you are part of that eternal rhythm. Breathe. Feel the air move in and out of you like water passing through gills. Every inhale gathers the light of the stars above the horizon. Every exhale releases it back into the deep. You do not have to count, or measure, or control. The breath knows what to do. It always has. Above you, the constellations shimmer faintly. Perhaps the same stars guided sailors who once sang across dark oceans or shone above the first coral reefs forming in the shallow seas. They do not flicker from effort, they shine, because shining is what they are. You, too, do not have to try to rest. Resting is what you are built for. It is what returns you to balance. The sea remembers every traveler who ever stood on its edge. It remembers the first humans who watched it with awe, wondering what lived beneath. It remembers the explorers who trusted its horizons, and the poets who trusted its silence. And tonight, it remembers you not by name, not by history, but by rhythm. Your pulse has joined its endless song. The sound of the ocean at night is not only the sound of waves, it is the sound of memory, breathing. Listen closely, and you may hear layers within it, the sigh of ancient storms now long forgotten, the whisper of whales far out at sea, the heartbeat of tides pulling quietly at the shore. It is all there, folded into one steady hum that seems to say, "Be still, you are home." You may wonder what the ocean dreams of when no one is watching. Perhaps it dreams of beginnings, of the first raindrops that filled its basins, of the first cell dividing, of the first ray of sunlight that ever touched its surface. Or perhaps it dreams of endings, of quiet mornings after storms, of beaches smoothed by centuries, of ships finally resting on the seabed, embraced by coral. Whatever its dreams, they are not so different from yours. Both are stories of movement, of change, of return. Let yourself drift deeper now. Imagine you are beneath the surface, not falling but floating, surrounded by blue that deepens with every breath. Sunlight fades above you, replaced by calm. The water grows cooler, thicker, heavier, but you are not afraid. The deeper you go, the quieter it becomes. Soon, even your thoughts sound like echoes fading upward, leaving you in perfect stillness. Here, in this imagined depth, there is no direction, no time. You are both motionless and infinite. The deep sea around you hums softly, not silence, but a sound beyond hearing, the vibration of existence itself. Scientists call it background noise. Poets call it eternity. Tonight, it is your lullaby. and somewhere far above, waves still rise and fall, but they no longer concern you. Their rhythm is your breath, and your breath is steady. You have joined the great circulation, the invisible current that moves through everything living. You have become part of the sea's heartbeat, part of the earth's dream. In this stillness, let your body rest fully. The muscles that carried you through the day soften. The shoulders, the jaw, the brow all release. The chest rises gently, then sinks. The weight of gravity no longer feels like burden, but like belonging. The bed beneath you is the seabed, now safe, cool, embracing. The blanket above you is the ocean's surface, closing softly to keep you warm. You do not need to do anything more tonight. The work of the world can wait. The tide will carry everything forward while you sleep. Let your mind dissolve into this quiet, like salt into water. Thoughts drift, swirl, then vanish. What remains is peace, simple, ancient, infinite peace. If memories arise, let them float like shells on the current. They are not anchors. They are gentle offerings, small reminders of who you have been and who you will become. The sea does not cling to what passes through it. It transforms it. Each wave that touches the shore leaves something new behind a smoother stone, a cooler breeze, a changed shape of sand. So too does every experience change you, softly, without effort. The ocean does not rush its transformations, and neither should you. Now, as the body sinks deeper into rest, the senses begin to merge. Sight turns into colorless feeling, sound into vibration, thought into dream. It is like returning to water after years of being air. The lines between you and the world blur. You are no longer observing the sea. You are inside it, carried by it, made of it. You are the current that flows. You are the tide that returns. In the far distance, something glows a faint shimmer on the horizon. Perhaps it is dawn, perhaps it is only the memory of light. Either way, it does not ask you to wake. It is there simply to remind you that darkness, too, has a horizon that every night eventually gives way to morning, and every wave that falls rises again. The sea does not fear the dark. It holds it, nurtures it, fills it with life unseen. The same is true of you. Within your quiet, there is life, thought, and renewal. Even in stillness you are growing. Even in silence you are healing. So let the ocean's voice carry you the rest of the way. Hear it repeating softly, endlessly. Rest, drift, return. These are the 3 words of the sea, and they are enough. Rest, because you have journeyed far. Drift, because life will carry you even when you stop steering. Return, because all things circle back to calm. You may not notice the exact moment when wakefulness ends. It will come gently, like the tide covering footprints on the sand. The waves erase the marks of movement, leaving smoothness behind. And in that smoothness, there is no effort, no memory of struggle, only peace. If dreams come, let them come like ships with silver sails crossing through your sleep. Do not chase them. They will find you. Some will bring stories, others will bring silence. Both are gifts of the deep. The ocean's final whisper reaches you now. It is almost too quiet to hear, yet somehow you understand it completely. You are safe. You are loved. You are home. The sea continues to breathe around you, patient and eternal. Its rhythm is your rhythm. Its calm is your calm. Its dream is your dream. Sleep now long, deep, and peaceful. Let the tides cradle you, the stars guard you, and the endless ocean sing you to rest. And as you drift into the softest part of night, remember this: even in sleep, the sea keeps you company. Even in silence, the waves still rise and fall. Even in dreams, you are never far from the shore. Good night, traveller of tides. May your dreams be calm as the moonlit ocean, vast as eternity, and gentle as the first breath of dawn upon the sea.